Welcome to Atlanta Live. This is going to be a night of inspiration for your dreams and for your purpose. My name is Teresa Hairston, and I'm your host tonight. Listen, I want to remind you that the Bible tells us we are fearfully and wonderfully made. God had a purpose in mind when He created you. He created you on purpose, for purpose. You're going to hear from dynamic women tonight who are walking out their purpose. And my first guest here to sing and to bless you is Michelle McKinney Hammond singing In the Beauty.
In the beauty of your holiness, I find myself alone. In the beauty of your holiness, I bow before your throne and worship you. I worship you. I worship you. Worship you. In the beauty of your holiness, I see you as you are. In the beauty of your holiness, my bright and morning star, I worship you. What can I do but worship you? For you are worthy, worthy, worthy. Holy, holy, holy. Altogether lovely, you are. But worship you. In the beauty of your holiness, I see you as you are, and worship you.
I worship you in the beauty of holiness. That's such a beautiful way to start off this evening. And that was Michelle McKinney Hammond. We'll be hearing more from her later, but I hope that you are in a spirit of worship, because it is in the spirit of worship that we find who God wants us to be. And tonight, this is a young lady who has found who God wants her to be. She is none other than Mary Parker. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much, Teresa. It is such an awesome feeling to be here.
Well, you are on Atlanta Live, and you are bringing Atlanta alive in the southwest quadrant of the city. you've been doing some work over there that I know our audience is excited about because you've been helping a lot of people.
And I'm so excited to be there. I'm so happy to be there. And let me tell you this, I want to share this quick story. Initially, when I was going to move to Campbellton Road, it wasn't by design, it wasn't a plan. I was retiring. And my team sent me home for 3 weeks. I cried every day and then decided to ask God, well, what's up with this? And he says that my work is not over. There's a new beginning. And who would think it landed me on Campbellton Road in Southwest Atlanta, which was the very first community I did any service work when I moved to Atlanta in 1992.
Wow. So let's go back so everybody knows a little bit more about Mary Parker. You are a phenomenal lady. So you started a security company. You moved here to Atlanta and started this all-in-one security, and it just has blown up.
Well, first of all, it's because I had a little experience before I came to All-in-One. When I moved to Atlanta in 1992, I started another security company with a partner, and we worked together for 8 years until I decided to leave in 2000, and we started All-in-One Security 2001, which was 9 months before 9/11, which changed the entire view of how we secure our homes, our families. Everywhere we go now is security.
Well, of course, you came in 1992, and you were, at that time, were you planning to do this business?
Absolutely. I moved here for the purpose of starting a security company, mainly because I was upset. I was upset because I'd been demoted by corporate America.
Really?
And I decided that no one would ever determine my destiny again.
Now, that's so important because a lot of people are in dead-end jobs and have been. And it's like this is a season where people need to pursue their dreams. But you didn't have that dream. You kind of got kicked out into your dream. You got kicked into your dream.
Absolutely. and it's very interesting you say that, Teresa, because when I look back and I look at people that I've studied, more successful people, they were either known for many failures before they succeeded, or some type of tragedy propelled them into that industry or the things that they're doing. For me, it was because I wanted to be the chick in charge.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I moved to Atlanta in 92, knowing that I was just ahead of the Olympics. And I wanted to do something that would empower our people. I wanted us to have a presence in Atlanta during the Olympics.
Okay.
And I didn't just want us cleaning floors and things like that. I wanted our company to be very visible in securing and helping to augment the security plans of this great city during the Olympics. And that's what really drove me into choosing Atlanta, which was not my choice. But
God had another plan.
That's correct. That is
and
absolutely
sometimes
correct.
out of what you think is tragedy or misery or a setback, God uses that as a stepping stone to where he wants you to really be.
Oh,
and so
gosh.
now you have the Mary Parker Foundation.
I have the Mary Parker Foundation, which is the love of my life.
Okay.
We go through life working and wanting to acquire all the things that we want for ourselves in life, but life is far bigger than we are. And when I realized how God was truly blessing me, I recall about 20 years ago saying to the Lord that if I ever got beyond wanting to give and help other people, I gave him permission to take everything he'd given me, all the stuff. You can have it back. People and other people having enough is far more important to me than a few of us having all of that stuff.
Yes.
At the sake of the livelihoods of so many families and communities. Hence is why I'm in Southwest Atlanta.
Yes, because Southwest Atlanta is not like where you hear a lot of people who are successful in business are headquartered. What made you decide to do that?
For that reason.
Really?
I was having conversations with colleagues and friends about Campbellton Road and why? How did it happen? And who were making these decisions? Well, I think we all were. Because we took that flight of moving to the suburbs and moving out of our communities. And what the community says now is that we took away all the resources. We became educated and we moved with And we moved with in other communities that really didn't need our tax base, that really didn't need our income to count and be included as part of the economics of that community. That's what Campbellton Road is missing. It's missing attention. It's missing attention. And to further that, one day in scripture, I was meditating, and God gave me a scripture that says, my people perish from a lack of knowledge.
Lack of knowledge.
And I began, as I meditated on that, he began to reveal to me who he was talking about. He's talking about his people, those of us who are successful and know that we are who we are and where we are because of the blessings of God Almighty.
Wow.
And to take those blessings to be selfish with and not take that knowledge back to his people.
Wow.
We're responsible. We're responsible to share with God's people all that he's given us.
Yes.
My grandmother used to say to me, to whom much is given, much is required.
That's right.
When I was in the midst of washing all those mason jars so that she could refill them with the fruits from our garden,
Yes.
so that our community would have more than enough.
Wow.
So that's, I have my grandmother's mantle as it relates to community and service and providing and making sure that we're all okay.
That's so important, because so many of our, successful business people like yourself, they go off and they do what they do, and you never see them back in the community, in the trench. And so you have this thing also called, is it the 2800 Project?
It's Junction 2800.
Junction
Yes,
2800.
that is my new baby.
Okay.
And that baby is going to allow me to raise up so many other children. I wanted to be the mother of 5 children. God blessed me with 1. She gave me 3, so I have 4 of
Okay.
my 5.
Okay.
But it's so much bigger than me and my family. So within Campbellton Road area, Southwest Atlanta, I have so many new family members, so many children. The young boys we see selling water on the ramps.
Yes.
Those are entrepreneurs, and I want to
Yes.
help them understand that they already have an entrepreneurial mindset. We just want to develop that so they can go beyond selling bottles of water on the street corners.
Wow.
It's okay to have a water business.
So now how do you do that?
I just stop and roll my window down and talk to them and make them feel human and not dehumanize them because of what they're doing. I hear the complaints of my colleagues. They're talking about what they look like. They're talking about what they're wearing. I'm talking about their mind. I'm talking about their hustle. I was a hustler as a youngster. My parents were sharecroppers. And in order to get more than what they were able to provide to us, I had to learn to do something, and that's another show. But I remember working 3 jobs. 2 of them were entrepreneurial. I had my daughter to raise. She's growing up, and we're never going to be on welfare. That's for people who don't dream. I dreamed as a little girl when I laid on the grounds in rural Mississippi and watched the clouds as they went by and wondered where they were going. And when I saw another cloud come back that looked like the one that went away, I just had a vivid imagination of where that cloud had gone, what discoveries were made, and now you're coming back and we're going to communicate.
Wow.
We used our minds, we thought. Today, it's lots of gadgets, lots of things to distract us from reality. We were speaking earlier about listening to the stillness of quiet. Think about how many people just get up and start their day and never pay attention to the fact that they didn't know when they fell asleep last night, but they are now aware that they're back awake this morning. That's nothing but the blessings of the Lord.
That's
and
right.
I'm grateful. Yeah.
And you're passing it on. And I think it's so important to speak to those young people, whether they're on the street corner, whether they're working at, a fast food place or something. And what are you saying to them? What are you pouring into them?
Well, first of all, I ask them their why question. And if they don't know why they're doing it, that's the first place we start. And I let them know that I'll park my car and I'll stand and talk with you, or you can come down to my office and we can sit and we can talk and we can even devise a plan as we did last summer. I brought 4 young men into our office last summer. We were planting a garden. And the objective was I would pick them up and bring them so they'd be at the office every morning, 4 days a week at 9 o'clock. I paid them $20 an hour, and they work 4 to 5 hours a day.
Wow.
And I wanted to know how quickly could they count their money, and they couldn't. These weren't 5-year-olds. These were 16 and 18-year-old young men. They could not multiply. And for that reason, so that gave me a place to start with them. The thing we had in common was they made money. They didn't know how to make it, so they spent it every day.
Wow.
And we set up a process for them. Those 4 young men are now making $600 a day because they learned how to multiply, and I taught them the art of multiplication.
That is amazing.
Yes, and we used what they do, what they were already familiar with, and it excited them that they could go hire their friends, and now instead of being on 2 corners, they could be on 4 corners. Instead of buying water to make their ice water, they go next door and ask the neighbor if they could fill their water with from their faucet and just buy ice. And now they saved another $20+ by doing that.
Wow. So you are really training up this next generation.
It's important. You know, Dr. Ed Irons was one of my mentors, and he was the first African American to receive his PhD in finance from Harvard Business School. And the one thing that Dr. Ed said to me and many others that he has mentored is when he was at Clark Atlanta forming the business school, that was great. But what about entrepreneurial school?
Yes.
And he said, we've created all of this talent for corporate America. Now I want to create the talent where all of them are signing the checks on the front side.
I love it.
I loved it. And that's what I
Yes.
teach my
Yes.
young people.
Wow. So now I know that you're doing something with the city of Atlanta. Tell us about that.
Well, I like to talk about the city of Atlanta as being the hope that I received when I was in business. And we started with, actually my very first contract was with City of Atlanta. Herman Russell was building a project, and he made sure that I was aware of the minority female status. So I got it, and he saved the contract for me. So that was beginning my business with working with the City of Atlanta. And then we acquired Chastain Park, which I've had since 1993.
Wow.
Yes, we're coming up on 30 years of being at Chastain Park providing security. But what I think you're also talking about is Junction 2800,
Right.
the home of the Mary Parker Foundation.
Yes.
And what we're doing there is actually establishing a resource hub, and we're leading with technology. We're creating a technology hub right in the inner city of Southwest Atlanta.
Okay.
So we're changing not only the narrative, but we're changing the landscape as well. And with our technology hub, while it's important for our young people to learn how to code and all of that, it's cutting edge with us.
Okay.
The technologies that we are looking at, we're able to look into the bodies of people and help determine whether or not this is the right sports of choice that you've chosen here. Perhaps they chose baseball, and they would be stronger if they were running track. So we're introducing within the sports industry different techniques that we can identify from a youngster right now as to how far they will go with their sports professionally. That's just one example.
Wow.
I'm looking at replacing a lot of the jobs that we have, security people, with technology, with robots and different things like that. So we're working on really cutting edge technology that will carry us at least into the next 20 years.
And you're the visionary for all of this.
I'm part of the visionary. I have some,
Wow.
you know, I'm encouraging all of my colleagues and friends that, you know, we've got to bring up another generation so that we can impart the visions and things God has given us so that the dreams can continue to come to fruition with the people we're investing in.
Now, I know you've got so much going on. This is so exciting to hear what you're doing. But I know you said something earlier about generations.
Oh, yeah, that's my new brainchild that we're working on.
Okay.
You know, I get calls. Being in the ministry, you know that. I get calls all the time, and I was sharing with someone earlier that I was right in the middle of a meeting the other day, and we received a call where a 17-year-old was threatening, and she was about to commit suicide had her dad not shown up. That became so important to me that I dropped everything to go rescue this child, because I believe that is a gift that God has given me, is the ability to go in and nurture them and talk them down. That was like my 4th time. And but it also helped me understand how much these children are missing. You know, the child's mother was in her mid-30s. She's 17.
Wow.
And that's one of the issues.
Yeah.
Parents aren't parenting anymore because they've lost it, and I own some of that. I believe when we baby boomers went to corporate America and became educated and had one child and divorced, that created a setback. It created a setback because we're not as focused on our families.
Wow.
And you know, within the Black culture, family has always been extremely important, and the mother's presence was the driving force. Well, if we're not present, we were the mothers of these children,
Yes.
that we're now seeing the results of what absentee parents do to a household. And that's what we're dealing with. So we are looking at bringing together 5 generations of women. We're going to do an intergenerational exchange
Yes.
of information. The older, our mothers, you know, the mothers' boards at our church, those are the ones who've been imparting in us all these years.
Right.
Now we have children we're imparting, and they have children, and they have children. So we're going from 93 to 10 years old, and my 10-year-old is an entrepreneur, and my 93-year-old still drives herself to work every day.
Wow.
Yeah, so just imagine how much is in between that woman and this child.
And how much can be passed on?
That's correct, and we need to begin intentionally transferring this wisdom,
Yes.
this knowledge.
Well, Mary Parker, you are doing a phenomenal job. We are so proud to know you and to be part of what you're doing. And I pray that Atlanta will just continue to keep you in prayer. And check out that 2800.
Junction
Junction
2800, come on down. And for the last nugget, so that you business owners will know, Mayor Andre Dickens, our mayor, has also entered into a partnership with us at Junction 2800, where Invest Atlanta will now have a satellite office. Come on out. We're going to teach you how to access Atlanta's money.
Wow, that is exciting. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bless you. And now be blessed by Michelle McKinney Hammond once again with Only a Song.
Silence. God is whispering. Silence. God is speaking. Listen to the silence. Listen to the silence. Silence. God is leading. Silence. God is revealing things. Listen to the silence. Listen to the silence. 'Cause when he speaks, there is healing. And when he speaks, there is deliverance. All you long for can be found in him, and you'll find him in silence. Silence. God is calling.
your spirit is still moving, still speaking, still healing. Like a rushing wind, unseen yet heard, he reveals himself in his spoken word. Like a flaming fire within our hearts, the Spirit moves and it imparts. And when he speaks, there is healing. And when he speaks, there is deliverance. And when he speaks, there is healing. And when he speaks, there is deliverance. All you long for can be found in him. And you'll find him in the silence. Silence.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I am Pastor James Minor of True Christ Outreach Ministries located in Norcross, Georgia. And we're here with WATC TV 57 in the prayer room specifically to pray for you. If you need prayer tonight, call us at 770-300-9828 and we will pray for you. Whatever it might be, whatever it is, we're here specifically for you tonight. And if you just need salvation tonight, let me offer Christ to you. Romans 10:9-10 says, if you can believe in your heart that God has raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved. For with the mouth confession is made unto salvation, with the heart is believed unto righteousness. If you can believe that tonight, then God is there for you. Call us and let us lead you into salvation, and we will greatly agree with you right here so that you might have everything that you need from God. We're going to go back to our studios now. Please enjoy the rest of our segment.
We're so excited tonight that you are being blessed and that God is speaking to you. Please hear him in the voices that you hear, the songs that you hear, and these testimonies that you are hearing. We now welcome this amazing woman who is doing work all over the world, Dr. Patricia Bailey.
I'm so excited to be here.
You look beautiful and regal, like an African queen.
Mutual, absolutely mutual.
Now, there are so many things that you've been doing. You're a scholar, you are an author, you are a preacher, a speaker, a mentor, so many amazing things.
And a grandmother.
Okay, that probably should have been the first thing, right? But now you are doing something that is changing the lives and transforming the lives of people, especially women across the world. 147 countries you're impacting. Tell us about this ministry.
One of the things, we've worked with women and children for years. It's been over 40 years, 4 decades. But I never realized in countries that are developing countries, because you're never supposed to say third world anymore.
Okay.
But the greatest challenge that they face, two crises more than anything, are the challenges of the lack of clean water and the lack of sanitation. It's like the big elephant in the room that no one wants to talk about. You just overlook it, and it claims more lives, kill more people than any AIDS or Ebola or Corona or any wars, threats of nuclear war, gun violence, more than absolute combined. 1/4 of the world doesn't have access to water. But the people that are affected the most by that are women and children. Because in most developing countries, well, around the world as a whole, the men don't go get water. It's the women and the children. And when you think about it with a woman, when she starts out from the top of her day to make sure that the children have food or her family has food, or just to start out with washing or bathing or just simple hygiene, things that affects water is life. And when I discovered that 80% of women in these developing countries, which is the most densely populated part of the world, that are having the the least access to clean water spend 80% of their life looking for clean water. So you trade your dreams, your vision, your passion, your education, that which brings, that what we take for granted, to be able to dream or desire or to go passionate after something you dreamt about as a little girl.
Yes.
That's forfeited. You don't even get you're not allowed to do that, because in exchange for that is survival every day. In one place in Mali, it's just hard to believe that women are trekking 200 miles in that desert for water. And I begin to think about us as women, what a warm bath means to us when you just want to just, you know, decompress. But then to think the bodies have never been immersed in water in the Sahara Desert. And just little things that we so take for granted when you got to make a decision between hygiene or using that water to cook, and then tracking that far, in many cases, for water that's unclean. That's unclean water.
So when you say tracking, you mean they're walking?
By foot.
200 miles?
It's just hard to comprehend. Now, that's not with
really
everybody,
is.
but in places like Mali, where there's extreme water scarcity, and the countries that we're working in, like Niger, Mali, countries like Chad and Senegal, especially Chad and Niger, these countries are desert. It's the Sahara Desert. And the most beautiful thing about our God is He's so creative. 70% of the water in the world is underground. So the answer is right beneath them.
Wow.
So we're taking in boreholes. We go drill boreholes and the most beautiful thing when you see that water coming up out of the ground, 50, 60, 70, even 90 feet up into the air, and that water's been there all along. And now they no longer, they can exchange the life that they once knew to a life of being able to live out their plan and purpose and potentials that God has inside of them. It liberates them. It liberates them.
So now, let's go back and roll the tape back a little bit. How did you get involved in this whole water project?
Apostle John Eckhart, a friend of ours, and we started out with a borehole too in South Africa, working in the squatter camps where they don't have access to toilets and running water. We just started with those two. Then we went on to Belize, and then all of a sudden he says, why not do 100 boreholes? And I thought, and I'm the type of person, I'm an action person. And I thought, why not? And this is the beautiful thing. African Americans and people of color make up less than 1%. That's the statistics. We're changing that in the area of global initiatives as far as humanitarian work, or some would call missions. But what's happening now are people of color are the ones that's funding, financing, rallying the money together. We're probably close at least to $100,000 in the last month and a half, maybe two. We're up to almost 25 boreholes in 2 months' time. There's some organizations that haven't done that much in years, and by the end of this year, we will be over 100 boreholes. And so it's extending from the very tip of Northwest Africa, as far as Mauritania, countries where it's illegal, it's actually punishable by death to be an atheist. And so in countries like that, we're getting in countries that we wouldn't be able to get in. And then revival has taken off because of the water. What we say is, here's some water that's a free gift. Okay? But we also have another water to bring to you. But this water, when you drink of it, you'll never thirst again. And just a simple extension and invitation of salvation. And Muslims are converting to accept Jesus Christ because they see a gospel that has this relative. And that's what this generation is looking for. They're not satisfied with seminars and conferences. And you prophesy to me, I prophesy to you. You preach to me, I preach to you. You know, they want to see something, this generation, that's impactful, that's relative, that's real, that's bringing transformation.
Yes. This is so powerful. This is so good. You know, I think that it's just time for real ministry to be done. And this sounds like real ministry. I mean, we know the church and the services and that kind of thing.
And we appreciate that it has its place.
All that's great. But so now as a preacher, as an evangelist, and all the things that you've done, how did you shift and start doing this? And how do you relate that to the ministry and to other people? There's people out here that are listening tonight who are involved in traditional ministry, who may want to get involved with something like what you're doing.
Teresa, I'm so glad you asked me that, because just a few days ago, in my quiet time, my silent time with the Lord, I said, Father, I'm entering a place with you that's a different dimension that I've known. I've been programmed to believe that worship is singing songs, or praising is music and songs and instruments. But you said to Peter, lovest thou me? Feed my sheep. So you're revealing that you measure our love for you by our love one for another.
Wow.
So we've missed it. So now take me down this journey and bring me in a path where really, when you say, when you've done it unto the least of them, you've done it to me. So every place I touch and I go, I want to feel you in me to them. I remember working in Somalia when it was one of the biggest famines in the Eastern Horn of Africa. 29,000 babies died in like 3 months' time. And I'm in there with skeleton babies in the desert, women that trekked across the desert. It was famine, you know? And I remember him asking me this, Teresa, will you be to them for me? And I felt his presence more being an extension of him to those who have the least has been prepared. Nehemiah said, eat the fat, drink the sweet, but remember to reserve a portion to those whom nothing has been prepared. He told Israel, when you grow your olive branches and your grapes, don't eat it all, don't consume it all yourself. A mango tree never feeds itself. An olive tree never, it produces for someone else. And I think it was George Washington Carver said that the measure of your success is the measure of how you serve your fellow man. So it's a whole different way of thinking. Like my sister Mary Parker, I love it. It's a fulfillment. It's a fulfillment that we most often miss, because the greatest fulfillment in life is when we extend ourselves to a life that's bigger than us and minister and help the lives and lift the lives of others.
Lift the lives
of others.
Yes. And that's what is so important in this season. I think that a lot of people, especially post-pandemic, are valuing what it is that God has purposed for them to do to help other people, and not being so selfish and hoarding things and just trying to build up stuff that you don't know if next month you're going to still be here to enjoy it.
And you know what I say, Teresa, sometimes? We take money we don't have to buy things we don't need to impress people we don't like. So ridiculous. And Luke 12 says a man's life does not consist of the things in which he accumulates. I think the pandemic, like you said, it should have changed and shifted our value systems. That it's not about us, but that also it should have shown us, Teresa, how we need each other. We realized we need each other, and that what affects one person can affect the entire world.
You know, and I think that prayer of, you know, many times we are programmed to pray for our needs, to pray for ourselves, to pray for what, you know, we think God needs to bless us with. And I think that this other powerful thing that you're doing is teaching people to pray for others and pray for opportunities to bless others. You know, we're living in a time where there's so much happening in America that, you know, I mean, we just saw senseless killings over the weekend. And I think those families that are hurting, this would be a great time for us to find ways to be a blessing to those families, to those communities that have been irreparably damaged. And I think even as what you're doing is helping in sub-Saharan Africa and other places, that, you know, this is just a spirit now that is being released.
Absolutely.
And so I just want you to speak to our audience tonight and encourage them.
I want to encourage anyone that's watching, whether you consider yourself to be a believer or not, you're a human being. And there are certain things, universal laws that pertain to anyone, regardless of your faith or your walk. And these universal laws that translate around the world are laws like this: the law of love, and the law of kindness, and the law of caring. We see that our Lord, for what we believe, he tells us that those who don't know me pray like this: what shall I eat? What shall I drink? What shall I wear? But when you come to know him, you don't have to worry about what you're going to eat, because he knows what you have need of even before you ask. And for those who may be going through something right now and you don't know who to call on, there is one that knows your thoughts from afar, and there is a way out. There's a better life. There's more ahead for you, and the best is yet to come. Don't give up. There's a lot of mental illness. There's a lot of depression. There's a lot that's plaguing the minds of people. But I want you to know there is hope, and there's a better tomorrow. Just keep believing, and as long as you keep looking up, you can get up. And there's one that I believe, his name is Jesus, who has a plan for you, and he wants more for you than you could ever want for yourself, and it's simply a love relationship with him. Not all the rules and dogma and regulations. It's just simply him wanting to say, will you allow me to solve your problems? Will you allow me to live in you? And you'll find out that he's predestined a life for you, charted it out, stepped into your tomorrow, validated it good, and it's much better than anything you could ever chart out for your own life.
Wow, that is so powerful. So, you know, this idea of helping other people, As we move into this next season, how will you, this is Dr. Patricia Bailey Ministries, is that how we?
Yeah, you can go to the website, patriciabailey.org, and it's Patricia Bailey Ministries. We're doing things like, and I've done it for 30 years, but I'm making a greater I'm intensifying more intentional, more deliberate to go after this generation, the emerging generation of leaders, Gen Zs, the millennials, and because we have, in many cases, not only the church, but they've been overlooked. And we take young kids from inner city, kids that would not have had an opportunity to have exposure. Exposure is much more powerful than education. You can have education and never do anything with it, never travel, never be exposed, and have a closed mind. But when you get exposed to a world that God made and have a world view,
yes,
a broader view of life, you now start looking through a different set of lens. Your value system changes, your priority changes. And there's so many kids that are genius. They have so many potentials locked up inside of them, but all they know is what they see.
Yes.
All they know is what they see. When you know better, you do better. And when you get exposed to, like, never been on a plane, never had a passport, never saw what, another part of the world looks like.
And you are taking these kids.
We're taking them. We call it Jamaica for Jesus. We take them to Jamaica because it's so easy. They can just go to our website, patriciabailey.org, and we scholarship these kids. We're saying to the church, I'm challenging pastors that are watching. I'm challenging businessmen. Let's invest in this emerging future generation, because if you don't invest in them now, you're going to pay on one end of the spectrum or the other end. If we invest in them now, we can help shape and mold their minds and their thoughts and their values. And we've seen kids that go, when they come back, there was one young man, he's serving as a career missionary in Namibia, he and his wife. One is serving in China, but some leave and go and they do business in other parts of the world simply because they had an opportunity for somebody to invest into them and give them exposure.
That exposure, that expansion, that growth, that happens here first.
Absolutely.
And I think that the thing that you are doing is just so amazing. And I want to encourage pastors, leaders, business people, whoever you are, you don't even have to have a title. Just be somebody who wants to see other people's lives changed. And please, please, please get on the website, patriciabailey.org, and invest, support, pray for her. You are just a blessing, and I'm so honored that we had you here.
And thank you for allowing me to come. I'm very grateful.
Oh, yes. This is going to be, a woke generation
That's
because
it.
of what you're doing.
Thank you.
Yes, it's going to wake up a lot of people. So as we close our time together, I just want you to just tell us, what your next couple months is going to be about.
We also, it wasn't enough to provide the water, because of course the health is connected to the water, because it's bad health because of the bad water. So now we're doing mobile clinics and actually building clinics for women that have never seen a doctor in their life, women that have to go by foot for 3 days to deliver their baby. Can you imagine? It's time for you to deliver. And then many of them, they deliver by the side of the road in the rural areas of Sierra Leone and Liberia. And in some places, there's no clinic or doctor for at least 5 hours, even by motorcycle. And so we're providing just basic clinics and hospitals to give them access to health care.
So doctors can be a part of what?
Absolutely. We do medical missions. We've been doing it for over 4 decades, where we go in and we do medical missions. If you're a doctor, nurse, anybody from the medicinal world, you can come and offer your service just for 1 week in places where people have never seen a doctor or a nurse in their entire life. And it's such a powerful thing. We're so excited about it. So that's one component, because it affects them the most. But then once you have health and you have water, what about your sustainability?
Yes.
And we're developing what we call business in a bag, and putting women in business that have never had a business before, that have never been, and it's so empowering. It literally changes their entire life, the way they see themselves. And I want to say this very briefly. We were working in Haiti for years and giving them handouts like care packages. And then one day, just like we had enough mosquito brain sense to ask, what do they want and what do they dream? And guess what they said to us? We want what you want. Simply put, we want to feed our own children. We want to be able to, they wanted that dignity, that esteem, to be able to provide for themselves, not that somebody handed it out. And we said, we got it. We know what to do now. And we began to empower them and put them in business. And they're doing wonderful.
Wow. Thank you so much. You are empowering nations and generations. God bless you.
Thank you, Teresa.
Dr. Patricia Bailey. Okay, we're taking a break now. Check this out. Well, welcome back, and I am with this amazing singer tonight. She's all the way from Ghana, Africa. Let's welcome to Atlanta Live, Michelle McKinney Hammond.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
What a blessing you were tonight to bless us with those songs. And those are songs that did you write those songs?
Yes. I have a music ministry called Relevance, and we write all of our own music, and those are two of our quieter songs. We've got some rowdy stuff too, but those are two of our quieter songs.
Now, that doesn't sound like African music to me.
Well, you know, African music comes in many different forms. We have some stuff that's got Afro beat, we've got the African rhythms, and then sometimes we just bring it down because we really want people to be centered on God completely.
Now, tell us a little bit more about you. I know that you live in Ghana, Africa, and yet you were not from Ghana. You weren't raised in Ghana.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'm kind of a mutt in a sense. I was born in London. My father is Ghanaian. My mother is from Barbados. And so I was born in London, lived in Barbados for a while.
Okay.
She married an American, so we moved to America. And then I miraculously found my father because they'd been separated, didn't know where he was. My aunt was taking a trip in Africa, and I said, "Can you find my dad?" And she checked into the hotel and asked if they'd ever heard of him, and they said, "Yes, ma'am. He's our bank president. He brings his clients here for drinks every day at 5. So that's how my dad was found, and we were very close after rediscovering one another. And he passed on in 2010, and in 2011, I moved to Ghana. So I've been there for over 10 years now.
Wow, that has to be kind of like a culture, not shock, but shift, right?
You know what? It actually wasn't, because I went there a lot and I kind of had my own life and friends and family there already. And Ghana was very much like Barbados.
Okay.
So I always tease and say that the Ghanaians went to Barbados on the ship and the Nigerians went to Jamaica because their culture and the temperament is very much the same. So I felt very much at home.
Okay. And so now tell me about Relevance. That's the group where the songs come from.
Yes.
And that's a group based in Ghana.
Yes.
Okay.
We are based in Ghana. We're looking forward to coming to the States sometime next year. But I have an amazing music director by the name of Umar Jaffu, who is an amazing songwriter and arranger and producer. And we literally write all of our songs. We've written over 250 songs. And so we have 3 projects, actually, that are out. They can be found on my website at michellehammond.com. You can find the tracks there. But we do a very eclectic mix. We call it Rockspiration. So we do rock, Afrobeat, jazz, salsa. We do it's a hybrid of everything. So it has a very different sound. Some people say we sound like Hillsong on steroids.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That's exciting that you're doing the musical side.
Yes.
But you're also, a lot of our viewers probably recognize your name.
Yes.
And I'm saying, well, wait a minute, singer. She's a writer, yes?
Yes.
This is the Michelle McKinney Hammond, who is the author of, I don't know.
42 books.
Yes.
Yeah.
So are you still writing?
I am. I'm working on a new book, actually, that's almost done. It's called Next, What to Do When Shift Happens.
Oh, wow.
Because the world has shifted, and we need to know how to make those adjustments and not get paralyzed.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so what do we need to do to shift?
We need to recognize the season, because each of us are actually in different seasons. And each season really represents a different process that we're in. And so instead of fighting and resisting the process, we need to embrace it so that we can use the season to actually allow it to fertilize what God wants to do in us. That way we're equipped to embrace the next season. You know, you can go through the different seasons. Now in Africa, in Ghana where I live, we're right on the equator. I was just sharing, we're actually at the very center of the world. We're off by 6 degrees, longitude and latitude.
Wow.
And so it's always hot. The seasons are hot, hotter, and hottest. But in America, we have summer, we've got winter, we've got fall, you know. So we have all these different seasons, and each one is a different time. Winter, things die, or so you think they are, but something's going on deep beneath the surface. And then spring happens, and we start to see the buds come out. And by summer, we're in full bloom and harvest. And you know, sometimes we in the middle of winter, we want summer so bad, and then when summer comes, we start complaining complaining about the heat. So I asked
do.
people, can you stand the heat when summer finally comes? When everything is finally harvesting and coming to birth in your life, are you ready to run with it? Can you stand the heat now of keeping up with the blessings that are coming faster
Things
than
that you wanted.
Yes.
When they come, can you handle it?
Can you handle it?
Wow.
So, you know, I deal with each season, why that season occurs in our life, and I also leave you with the reminder that it's a repeat cycle.
My God.
But you'd look really funny in the middle of winter wearing a bikini coming down the street, and you'd
Okay.
look strange in summer with a fur coat on. So there's a purpose for each season, and you need to know what it is and embrace it.
Wow, that's powerful. We
Yeah.
can't wait for when shift happens.
When shift happens.
All right.
The shift does happen.
That's, come on now. So now, speaking of shifting,
Yes.
you have done the books, and you're still doing that, and then the music, but now you've got a new thing, and I think both of us
Yes.
are modeling it tonight. You are a fashion guru now.
Well, you know what? I've always loved fashion. I was a project runway addict, you know, and I loved the whole process, and I always kept saying, I'm going to do that one day. And during COVID, I got bored, and I had all this fabric, and I started pulling it out and saying, what can I do with this? And next thing I knew, I had a line. I was in a fashion show, and I was the finale of the fashion show. So now I have a whole website, mmhcollections.com, where people are ordering the things, and I'm doing pop-up shops, and every piece, though, is a one-of-a-kind piece. So when it's gone, it's gone.
Well,
so
that's
don't
what we
think about
like.
it if you go on the website, 'cause while you thinking somebody will buy it.
So MMH, is that Michelle McKinney Hammond?
And me, myself, and him.
Okay. Wow. So
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah.
So you're doing this, and this is fabric from Ghana?
It's fabric from Ghana. It's their batik. It's they have different bazooms. They have a shoke. They do kente, and I'm having so much fun mixing and matching colors and patterns and fabrics. Because when I was in America, I was a black girl. Everything was black because I traveled a lot and black matched. But now I get to, you know, celebrate color. So I'm really
Yeah.
enjoying it.
Well, the colors, the fabrics,
Yes.
all of the
You look
creation-
fabulous in it, by the
Well,
way.
thank you, and so do you.
Thank
But you know what? I think it's so important that we embrace the culture that we are really
Yes,
from.
yes.
And a lot of times we find ourselves in the department stores like, you know, and then the fits, you know. But this, your line is absolutely beautiful. It fits, you know.
Thank you. It's
little-
one size fits all.
One size fits all.
Yeah, I made it. I didn't want women to have to worry about the size. I wanted them to go with the flow. I called the line unconstructed because I feel like we have gotten so tight and revealing, and I wanted women to celebrate the mystery, the power of their mystery and their femininity. You know, I want people to guess what's underneath as opposed to seeing it all. You know what I mean?
You know, and a lot of times we're so busy in ministry, especially traditional
Yes.
ministry, just, you know, doing church stuff. And, you know, as women, we enjoy a lot of different things, a lot of variety. And I think
Yes.
this brings out our personalities, the
Yes.
colorfulness of who we are.
And you know what, Teresa, it's interesting because a lot of African fashion designers, and there are fabulous fashions in Africa. You're just waiting to be discovered. I mean, amazing stuff.
Yes.
But it's interesting that even them sometimes, they get wrapped up in trying to capture the Western thing with the fabric. And I feel like every piece of fabric is a work of art in and of itself. And you should just let it be what it is and let it breathe and show itself
Yes.
off. You know, sometimes I do pieces like this and I just add a few stones to them, just add a little bling. And, you know, it just makes everything pop. And then you're wearing a piece of art as opposed to cutting it up and not being able to recognize the beauty of the fabric and how it moves and how it flows.
You know, this is so wonderful, but, you know, we're getting ready to close this show. We've been talking to power women all night, but women who are pursuing their dreams.
Yes.
And, you know, people who are pursuing their dreams. And women, we were the bottom of the totem pole in terms of income, in terms of advancement for many, many years, decades. And now we're able to sprout our wings and
Yes.
soar. And I just want you to look and speak to those women out there, especially women that are sitting there and have dreams that they still are a little bit edgy about releasing.
Well, you know, the difference between a successful person and a person who dreams is that one does it and the other one just dreams. And for me, my entire life has been about reinventing myself in every cycle. And so whatever's in my hand, I will throw it down like Moses did and use it. And so dare, have the courage to follow your dream. Your dream is not something you came up with. And as long as you know that it's something that's God breathed in you, He's going to back you when you take the first step of faith and take that leap and begin to do it. I mean, when I did my fashion line, I was afraid. I was like, is anybody going to like this stuff? And now I'm getting calls from even heads of state to dress them. And so you just do it and let God do the rest. He'll breathe on it and blow it up bigger than you thought.
Wow, that is so wonderful. Thank you so much,
Thank
Michelle
you.
McKinney Hammond. And go to MMH and get those fashions. Listen, I want you to know that you are awesome, fearfully and wonderfully made. God has plans and purpose for you. No matter where you are, trust Him. God bless you.